The final tribute for Hulk Hogan took place tonight on NXT. The entire NXT roster was in the ring and outside of the ring to honor Hulk Hogan, real name Terry Bollea. Shawn Michaels and Matt Bloom were also present, and they did a 10-bell salute. The crowd was respectful again, and then they replayed the same video from Raw. We heard Bret Hart's voice, Ric Flair's voice, Shawn Michaels, John Cena, as they all were talking about Hogan. I believe those comments were taken from previous interviews for documentaries or old WWE Network specials. We saw photos and videos highlighting his career. One thing I didn't mention on Raw was they actually showed when Andre poured champagne all over Hulk Hogan's head after he defeated the Iron Sheik to win his first World Championship. I think this video's almost grown on me. I kind of preferred it over the SmackDown one now. And it's a lot more sad, it's simpler, and it really hits home now for some reason. It hits differently than the SmackDown one. The SmackDown one was more of really a formal tribute and also highlighting his career with narration. It had more of a production. It seemed like a higher production. Here, this one's more something you would see playing at a funeral. That's how I would explain it, at a funeral home. And after it was done, we got applause from the fans. They were very classy once again. So Cleveland, Detroit, Orlando, all classy, paying tribute to the Hulkster. I guess this is it. This was the final tribute. I'll be honest, guys, I'm really not ready at all for SummerSlam. I'm drained. I'm sad. I'm just been thinking about Hulk Hogan since Thursday. I really don't care that much about SummerSlam, to be honest. And the tribute tonight, it really got me. I'm not gonna lie. Now I know it's really over. It's this. I'll admit, when it happened, I was crying. I didn't cry during SmackDown or Raw. I was sad watching it, but now, man, I was getting choked up. I was teary-eyed, throat, and I think it's hitting now. This was the final tribute for Hogan. This was the third show that he did a tribute for him on SmackDown, Raw, and NXT, and now it's really over. Now, as Vince says, the show goes on, and this felt like this was it, man. It's like the end of a funeral when the deceased is about to be laid to rest. Then it really hits in. You're never gonna see him again, and this was it. I was very sad watching this. Goodbye, Hulk. We're gonna miss you, man. Hulkamania lives forever. I also had to mention this. So, on that same day that we lost Hulk Hogan on July 24th, it's now been reported by TMZ, the same outlet that reported Terry Bollea's death, that Vince McMahon actually got in a car accident the exact same day. And now we're seeing actual photos of the wreck, and Vince is lucky. He is lucky he was not seriously hurt, or even worse, if you know what I mean. He's okay now. I don't know if he was driving. I don't know why he would be driving. That surprises me, but he got into a bad accident. I'm glad Vince is okay. And by the way, he's basically unscathed. And I'm sure it must have been, really just a whirlwind of emotions. He gets into the accident. He's okay, but then he gets the phone call that the biggest star in the history of his company, the guy who he built his empire with, is gone. That must have been really bad for Vince. So, best wishes to Vince McMahon. So, as I said, it's now feels like it was over, man. R.I.P. brother. R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. We miss you. So NXT started off with Jada Parker making her entrance. She's over. Fans like her. They chanted Jada Parker. And then Jasmine Nix made her entrance with Fallon Henley and JC Jane. They do the Fatal Influence entrance. And Jada Parker basically just beat Jasmine Nix easily, as she should have. It really wasn't much. Jasmine Nix, I really don't see much in. Jada Parker, I think, has a lot of potential to be a top female star in the company. I think she has everything. And I think even Blake Monroe agrees she has everything. We'll get into that later. But JC and Fallon were yelling at Jasmine after the match, so they're teasing kicking her out. They should. She's just not that good, man. She's not going to make it on the main roster, I can tell. There's so many women. They're just so much better than Jasmine X. Maybe like 15 years ago in the Divas division, she could have a chance. She's not going to make it. With the stuff I saw last night with Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Stephanie Vaquer, she's not going to make it with those ladies in that division. And, you know, she's not over enough like who might... I don't see her having any shot. So... backstage, and this was getting annoying. This stuff I've been complaining about. Javon Evans is talking to High Rise. I don't give a shit about High Rise. I want to see Wesley just reunite and reform MSK with the other guy again. I don't give a shit about High Rise. It sucks, but he's talking to him. Chase U's there, and then Javon Singh is going after Obafemi. They actually promoted the announcers promoted the Hulk Hogan LJN action figure again, which was cool. I'm glad they did that. It's a throwback, and there's also figures of other legends. Dusty Rhodes has one, Logan Paul has one, and then John Cena has one. So I'm glad they're promoting that. You had Javon Evans come out. He calls out the NXT champion Obafemi, but Trick comes out instead, and Trick just says, "Go away, heat with me, man." He sucks so bad. I'm sick of seeing him all over my TV screen. Can't cut a promo. He's one of the worst wrestlers in the company. High Rise comes on. That's real. Go away, heat with me now. They lay out Javon Evans, and I guess High Rise is now affiliated with Trick Williams. JCU guys are they're peeping in the locker room. They have chairs and they're ready to attack Hank and Tank, and they want a match. They go after them, but they don't actually hit them. And Hank and Tank are so nice. They just give guys a title shot who are about to kill them with chairs. They're really nice guys, and they have a tag match next week. Andre Chase walks in. He starts yelling at his students for threatening them with chairs. The acting here is just terrible. Andre Chase was okay. Everyone else just awful, man. No Quarter Catch Crew is out as a group, possibly for the last time. Charlie Dempsey and Tavion Heights came out with Ren Sinclair in both their corners. And then in the match, Tavion Heights won with the belly-to-belly. He defeats Charlie Dempsey. And it looks like No Quarter Catch Crew is officially over. Good. It was nothing. We saw Trick talking to High Rise and catering. And then Santino walks up to Trick, tells him the TNA title will be coming home soon, and this was before Santino's big match for the North American Championship later tonight against Ethan Page. We see Blake Monroe backstage heading to the ring, and then Blake Monroe makes her entrance with the mirror. She just looks like a star, and the acting on this show, the promos are so terrible, especially with High Rise guys and Chase U, and it's awful, but then when Blake comes out, it's just at such a different level. She's so good, man. Blake's great. She comes out and says, Jordan Grace isn't good enough. She shows Jordan Grace of photos when she was overweight, when she was in TNA in those early years. And this kind of reminded me of when they did that thing with Lakepool, when they were like body shaming Mickie James. And that got a lot of heat. And this was similar to that. And it's different when it comes from someone like Blake Monroe because she's so attractive and she looks like a model. And she's ripping into Jordan Grace here. And then Blake puts over her own body, as anyone who looks like her would. But she went into Jordan Grace. Lola Vice interrupts Blake Monroe. She says for as attractive as beautiful as Blake Monroe is on the outside, she's equally as ugly on the inside. And Lola puts herself over. She talks about teaming with Nikki Bella and stuff. Then Jada Parker comes out next, and she's over. She cuts a decent promo, but then Jordan Grace's music hits, and Blake looks concerned. But instead, Kalani Jordan comes out to Jordan Grace's music. It's the wrong Jordan, I guess. Kalani then challenges Blake, and all four of them brawl. It's Blake and Jada brawling against Kalani and Lola. Kalani and Lola stand tall together, and then Jada and Blake are on the outside, and Blake Monroe begins to hug Jada Parker, and it's very sexual because that's what Blake Monroe's character is. It's the same as the Mariah May character, which was overtly sexual with the other woman, and she's hugging Jada like that, and Jada doesn't like that, so she easily shoves her down like hard, and Jada looks mad. This was actually one of the better parts of the show. It was actually genuinely funny. That was actually a good segment. At that point, that was easily, of the actual show, the wrestling, I'm not talking about the tributes, that was easily the best part of the actual NXT show right there. Izzy, Damian, Tatum, Paxley talk backstage. Tatum wants to challenge Sol Ruka, and then Sean Spears and the other guy from the Calling come and announce she's getting a match with Sol Ruka next week. She might win that. You never know. It could do a shock there. I doubt it, but she could. And Izzy's a little jealous. She's upset that Tatum's getting the shot against Sol Ruka, but she is. And then they show Luca Crucifino looking on, so he's not going to have much to do, I assume. Lash Legend was cutting a promo backstage. Ethan Page, he's warming up backstage before his main event match. Then we get Fallon Henley in the ring before Lash Legend makes her entrance. And during this match, which is Fallon Henley against Lash Legend, we randomly see Joe Hendry's face during the match. I'm thinking, is that a subliminal message? And it wasn't by accident, because we saw it later in the show too. So Nia Jax randomly attacks Lash Legend on the outside. She throws her in the ring after she beats her down. Fallon Henley then hits the Fameasser and gets the win, so Fallon pins Lash. And then Nia, who's been doing really good work, is basically set to face Lash as Fatal Influence celebrated. Nia Jax hitting an Annihilator onto Lash Legend. To be honest, this kind of reminds me last year of when they sent Mishin down to face Jada Parker, and she put Jada Parker over. I think they're trying to get Lash over here as a top A face, and they know Nia has a lot of heat, and they're going to have Lash beat Nia to get her over. They had Nia work with Jay Cargo, work with Tiffany Stratton more than anything to get them over, and it's worked a lot. So Rhea Ripley, they used Nia against Rhea a lot earlier in the year, so it doesn't surprise me that they're using Nia to get Lash over, and that tells me they have a lot of high hopes for Lash Legend. If they're going to send Nia Jax down there to work with her, they see a lot of potential in Lash Legend, and they're going to use Nia to get Lash over. Stax was talking to Josh Briggs in the lot, and looked like more the lounge area. Inamore comes in, barging in. He goes after Briggs, and then Stax, did I say Stax? I think I said someone else, but Stax, he tries to stop, and he starts talking to Inamore not to go after Briggs. Inamore slaps Stax, say that twice, and then he challenges him to a match next week. We get Javon Evans and Wesley, and I'll be honest, no one really cared that much about Wes when he came out with the high rise, but the match was really damn good, as Javon Evans is really good. Let me tell you something. I don't want to see Javon Evans walking around backstage, bumping into random people, talking to them about stuff. We want to see him wrestle because that's what he's good at. We want to see him go bouncy. I think that's cringe, but he's really good in the ring if you didn't notice, and that's what they should do with Javon Evans. Stop having him going around backstage, talking to random people, giving advice like he's some guidance counselor or something. I don't know. We want to see him wrestle. We want to see him fly. That's what he's good at, and this is what we got here. So it was a very good matchup. There was an awesome coast-to-coast in which it's similar to what we saw last week with Joaquin Wilde. I think JD was hung upside down, and a Triavone hit a drop kick. Here it's the same thing. Javon Evans is in the is on the top rope, while Wesley is in the Triavone. Instead of hitting a drop kick, we have Javon Evans hitting a swanton, and his feet basically hit Wesley. It was a good spot. It was a good-looking spot. Not as good as the one last night, but it was a good spot. So eventually, Javon Evans wins with a top rope cutter. He gets the win. Oba Femi and Trick Williams are both posing with their belts after Javon Evans gets the win over Wesley. So I also wanted to bring this up. There's no NXT PLE this weekend, which is good. It's too bloated. It's oversaturated. That's what we get with WrestleMania weekend. There's too many shows. But I will say this. It's too bad because they're in Brooklyn this year. They're in New Jersey, technically, but they're in Brooklyn, New York, around that area. And that's the 10-year anniversary since the first TakeOver show that was outside of the Performance Center, outside of Full Sail University, which took place in Brooklyn, New York at Barclays Center. I would have loved to have seen a 10-year reunion show. NXT Return to Brooklyn, TakeOver Return to Brooklyn, something like that. NXT Brooklyn. It's 10 years to that first major NXT TakeOver show outside of in a major arena. That was a huge show for NXT. It's been 10 years since Brooklyn. That first Brooklyn show with Bayley winning the title from Sasha Banks, and he had Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. That was such a landmark show for NXT. Kind of wish they had something, or they'll probably just acknowledge it on social media, but it is a big thing. I was kind of hoping there would at least be something this year, but we're not getting it. We had NXT Focus on Miles Bourne. He was interviewed by Vic Joseph. They were talking about Lexis King, who's saying he's not deaf. Miles talks about his life story. He talks about how he flatlined twice as a baby and how radiation trying to save his heart and save his life is what caused him to be deaf. It was really well done. Very likable Miles came off here. You know, he's very it's really easy to root for him. That's what I thought. And it was, you know, he was being really open and frank about his life story, and it was really good. It was emotional, and he talks about Lexis King and facing him. And I thought Vic Joseph did a good interview here. So they're really doing well with Miles Bourne. You had Stevie Troy and Robert Shaw talking to Ava about Jordan Grace's injury, and then Lexis King barges in. He accuses Miles of not being deaf. He will face Miles Bourne. That was announced. They preview next week's show. It looks really good. You got Sol Ruca, Tatum Paxley for the North American Women's Championship. Blake Monroe taking on Kalani Jordan. That should be really good. You got Hank and Tank defending their tag team titles against Chase U. So we got some stuff happening next week. Santino Marella was out next, and he looked thrilled. It was a cool moment. It's his first match with WWE since June 2014. I believe it was Rusev who hurt him, and he crushed him with the camel clutch, and I think that's what happened. He messed up his neck. Then he retired. I think Santino Marella was he was aligned with Emma. You remember her, and they were together. It wasn't the best pairing, but I think that's what he was involved with in his last storyline before, you know, being injured and retiring. So we got a video outside of Fatal Influence. It's one of those. They don't do those videos anymore where the camera follows them or someone's recording them. But then we saw Nia Jax. The camera goes to her and she's cutting a promo on Lash Legend. So they're setting up that feud. Then we get Ethan Page, Santino Marella. We randomly see Joe Hendry's face again, so I assume he's going to be with WWE soon. He's probably leaving TNA. Santino brought out the Cobra. Ref blocked it for some reason. Ethan Page thumbed Santino in the eye, jabbed him. He hit the cut. I don't know what he calls that. Twist of fate move, whatever he calls it. And he pinned Santino Marella. So I think probably that's it for a Santino NXT match. Wasn't that memorable, but Ethan Page defeats Santino Marella to retain his North American Championship, and then that's what we saw from the Performance Center. Then we go and get a video from Tony D'Angelo. He's appearing at a diner with wine. He looks like he's talking to someone, and he says he's no longer the Don. He's Chony D, and then some shadowy figure appears. So I assume this is either part of a new faction, or they're gonna kill off Chony D'Angelo's character. I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's how NXT ended. It was an okay show. It was, again, most notable, I guess. It was better than what we've seen in the last few weeks. I'll see that, but it was definitely, it seemed like the final tribute to Hulk Hogan, and I felt it when I talked about it earlier in the video. This felt like it. This felt like this was over. This was the final tribute, and man, it's the end of an era, end of the golden era of WWE. It feels finality, man. It's really sad. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan.